Okay, y'all. So it's been a minute. Let's just be real. Like I said that I was gonna be doing more videos last year, and what happened? I ain't do any. So, but it's all good. We're here now. Let's just go ahead and jump into it. All right, so this is Lent for a lot of Christians. A lot of people celebrate Lent. And so that's what my church is doing this year. So I decided to participate in it. And I decided to do some things that I know God has laid on my heart to do. Maybe even if it was last year, but I'm just now deciding to do it. So one of those things is to film. So a lot of the, issues that I've had with filming or not filming is because I feel like, well, I don't have time to put makeup on. I'm busy with my practice, all of that kind of stuff. But I said I'm not gonna let it stop me. So we just gonna get into it. We're gonna get into it. So again, with me practicing or going through a Lent this year, I've decided to film a little bit more. I've decided to make sure that I'm spending an hour or more with God in prayer and just worship and just talking to Him. And that's in my personal time, because we all know a lot of times that's the reason why a lot of people don't hear from God, because it's kind of like if you're in a relationship. Well, guess what? You cannot be in a relationship with somebody and never spend time with them. So that's kind of why I want to make sure that I'm always close with God. And this year has already started out awesome. I completed Tiffany Montgomery's Year of the Bride fast, which she did at the end of last year, but I started it on January the 2nd, and it was amazing. And I know I'll get to share my testimony about that. But again, back to the reason why we're here, because I don't want to prolong it. One thing that God recently told me is just, when I speak, just tell my testimony. So the first video that I'm going to start with is going to be, can y'all believe that there was a time that I didn't believe in God? Okay. So here is what was going on. Okay, so if you see me looking, I am looking to the side to make sure that I stay on track. So I have a few notes. So just know that I grew up in church. I mean, I was in church on Sundays, on Wednesdays. I was a youth usher. I was in the youth choir. I was Sunday school secretary. I mean, I did Bible Bowl. Church institutes, you name it, I did it. I grew up Baptist. So with that being said, I don't remember the church really talking about the gifts of the spirit or, sin or anything like that. So of course, I was a lukewarm Christian, somebody that went to church, but basically just kind of did whatever I wanted to do. So, of course, when I was 18, I got pregnant, and at 19, I had my first child. So, again, like I said, just living in sin. Yes, I loved God. I still went to church. Like I said, I've been in church my entire life, no matter if I lived under my mom's roof or when I moved out when I was about 19 or 20. So, just always been in church, always loved God, but I guess didn't love him enough to keep his commandment. So definitely very, very lukewarm. So what I would say is, once I became a nurse, and I became a nurse in 2013. Once I became a nurse, I started working at my first position, and I'll never forget, it was a young lady that I just love even to this day. I won't say her name, but it was a young lady that I loved. And I'm gonna be honest, I had never met anybody that didn't believe in God. But she went to a Christian university. She got her undergrad at a Christian university. And what she told me was she did not believe in God. And she said, even though she had teachers at this Christian university, not everybody believed in God. And so I was kind of amazed at that. But for me, I've always been a very non-judgmental person, because, as they say, oh, Christians aren't supposed to judge, even though we can judge righteously. But at the time, I didn't know. But I've always been a people person. I love talking to people and just really kind of, I'll be honest, because I was in sin, it was like accepting them as they are. And of course we do that in love, but you know, at the same time, we want to, you know, help people to understand the real word of God and what, you know, what God really wants them to do, so that they don't end up in hell. Let's just be real. So, all right. I had this discussion with her, and it was somewhat of a debate because because it was like, okay, well, why do you believe in God? It's like, well, why don't you believe in God? And I couldn't really give any type of evidence because I had never done any research. I honestly believed in God because that's how I grew up. So I just couldn't give her anything that was evident to that. And I told her, okay, well, you should fast, because in nursing school, I did my first fast. I had never heard of fasting in church. Again, I grew up Baptist. I'm not saying all Baptist churches don't fast, but mine didn't. So, but the first time that I did fast, it was in nursing school because I met some young ladies that were awesome. And obviously they had fasted before. So I was like, yeah, you should fast. So crazy enough, she did. And because she wanted God to reveal himself if he was real. And I cannot remember exactly what she said about her dream. But what I do know is she mentioned that she had a dream on the last day of her fast, and how she was sitting on the front row in a church. And she said that she did tell me, so, you know, kind of backtracking a little bit. She used to believe in God, but I can't remember what happened as to why she no longer did. But she was in a church, and her grandmother was there, and they were talking about God in the dream. But even with that dream, she still didn't believe that God was real. She was like, oh, I just had that, you know, that dream. And I asked her, well, how do you feel like you were created, and your grandmother and your family was created? Like, who do you think created those individuals? She was like, I just feel like their mom before them created them, and that mom before them, and that mom before them. So we just created our, you know, ourselves. And so even with that dream, with God showing her that dream on the last day of her fast, she still didn't believe, y'all. She did not believe. So, you know, like I said, we were still cool and everything. But what I didn't realize was the enemy was kind of like also kind of planting a little seed in my head as well, because nobody had ever asked me, like, do you believe in God, or why not? So fast forwarding. Okay, so ended up getting married, I think like maybe about 3 years after I became an RN, somewhere up in that area. It may have been a little bit longer than that. I think it may have been about 4. So it turns out that my husband did not grow up in church. And he used to say stuff like, okay, you know, if we would get in discussions about it, well, if God is real, why would he do this to, you know, young kids? And again, I really didn't have a basis for it. The answer, I didn't. But it was just like, I just believed in God. And again, another seed was being planted or watered at that time. And before I knew it, I had started questioning if God was real, but I didn't tell anybody. I did not tell a soul. So at that point, what ended up happening was I was on the phone with a friend, and literally we was just talking. One of the friends from nursing school that had introduced me to fasting, and she was like, girl, you know, God is telling me that you don't even know if he's real, because I was talking to her about my husband, you know, not knowing. And I when I say I cried, I boohoo cried. Like, I had to run to the car because and at that time I was a RN, but I was working for an insurance company. So it was, you know, not in a hospital anymore. And I mean, I boohoo crying because it's like nobody knew. Like, I hadn't even told my husband. I hadn't told anybody, because I'm just like, how do I, of all people, not believe that God is real? This is crazy. So I ended up fasting. Well, first of all, she recommended me and my husband go to see this man that's a bishop in that was near my school, you know, well, my old school. And so we did do that. But I also have to mention that I also went on a fast. And I told God, because at that point, I was kind of looking into other religions. Like, I was kind of like, okay, God, if at this point, you're gonna have to show me that, Jesus is real. Like, this is real. And I specifically said that you're gonna have to show me that Jesus is real, because I don't feel like I really believe that he's real anymore. And so I went on a fast, and I started looking up physical evidence to find out if Jesus was real. And I ended up coming across several things. I can't remember everything because this was like in 2017, early 2017, around Easter. And I just remember looking up I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, the Shroud of Turin. And I want you guys to look at the video, 10 shocking biblical archaeological discoveries that give evidence Christianity is true. And it's on the channel called The Beat by Alan Parr. So it'll give you a lot of information about some of the things that I discovered, because I can't remember everything, but there was a big one that I do remember. And I was like, nobody has ever preached about this or told me anything about this or taught about this in the church. And it's just like a light bulb went off with like all of the discoveries that I found, like scientific evidence that backed up that Jesus actually was, alive on the earth. But that wasn't enough for God. He was like, okay, I'm gonna give you a little more, sis. And I believe 2 days before I ended my fast, and the fast was gonna be ending, like, I think the day before Easter, I want to say. And I ended up going on looking at a video. It was, I believe, Juanita Bynum. I should have wrote it down, but Juanita Bynum and Dr. Cindy Trim. And they had did a video together, and at the end they did a prayer. And I mean, they were just praying in the spirit. I'm talking about, and don't let the names, because I know some people how they feel about, Dr. Bynum, but don't let the names kind of make you miss the message. When I say that video was talking about the heavens, because it's multiple heavens, even the Bible speaks about that. I mean, it just gave so much insight and so much knowledge, and it was just so powerful, man. And at the end, that prayer, and I was in my bathroom doing my hair, and I just stopped doing my hair, and I lift my hands, and I just started praying right along with the video. And when I tell you, it's like the Spirit of God just hit me. And at that time, I was so confused. I was in so much confusion, y'all. Like, literally, I was about to go to MD school. Well, I was trying to get into MD school. They told me I had 2 classes left, and I also need to take my MCAT. So I was getting ready to prepare for that. Sending the emails back and forth, visiting the school and everything. And literally, when I was in worship, raising my hands, praying, I heard the audible voice of God. Like, I mean, obviously, not as if I'm somebody standing right here talking to me, but it's like a voice that was in my head. It's just like they started speaking to me, just downloading stuff. And literally, I heard the voice say, you don't have to go to MD school, because I'm going to use you as a nurse practitioner. And people are going to wonder, how are you able to help these people? And you're going to say that it's me. So that was so profound. And I literally, like, I broke down. When I say I broke down because I had never heard God speak. I had never heard anybody tell me that, God spoke, that, the one true and living God that we serve, like, he spoke. So this was just profound. It was absolutely profound. And to even top it off, like I told you, my friend recommended that we go to a bishop's church near my school. And we went, myself and my husband, and we ended up going. And when we went, it ended up being where we got prophesied over. So he didn't know us from Adam. at all. But we did sign up to get some premarital counseling because we weren't married at that time. So, you know, we walked in, he didn't know us, hadn't seen us. This was our first time seeing him. I had never heard of his church. Like, I didn't know anything about him. And of course, my husband didn't know anything about him. And we knew that he prophesied though, because my friend told me. And so we were one of the last people that he called up there, and he got his son to come get us in the middle of the well, you know, when in the middle of him prophesying. And so he came and got us. We walked to the front. My husband, he was like nervous the whole time, like pulling on my shirt. And I'm like, boy, if you don't go. And so he was like, he knew that he was gonna come get us. And I really can't remember everything that happened when he prophesied to us, but I believe he started with me. And he started telling me how I had experienced so much hurt and so much pain in my life before that. And then, like I said, tears just started flowing. It was like somebody was reading my heart. And then he started prophesying to my husband, and he started telling my husband, this is what kind of got me out of my tears, because he was like, he said, boy, and you, ooh, you so hard-headed. And so it was like, Lord, honey, he's telling the truth. God had to reveal this because he is telling the truth. He was like, you so hard-headed, but he was like, you know, you gonna be powerful, and I see a lot of money in your future. So, like I said, you know, I can't remember everything, but we still had the counseling session afterwards. And he was, you know, the bishop was so shocked that we were the couple that he was doing the counseling session with. And he ended up prophesying over us. And he said a lot of things, but he said that we'll be one of the most powerful couples in our in the Southwest region, is those were the exact words that he said. So yeah, you know, I mean, it was crazy. But to also, you know, give a little bit more insight, I also went back to the church maybe within the next month or so. And I remember, you know, like, even though all this stuff had happened, I was just like, okay, God, if you real, I'm gonna put this cross on. I had a necklace that was like made of pearls. Like the pearls went around my neck, and it had a cross on it. And I was like, I'm gonna put this necklace on. And you know, if you are real, like, let him prophesy to me again. Because like I said, I'm still like a babe in Christ. So even though I had been in church my whole life. So I put the necklace on, and he was, you know, went to church by myself, went back to the church with the bishop by myself. And he basically was finished prophesying. And I was like, okay, well, guess he ain't gonna say nothing to me. And it's like he was getting ready to read, you know, his text. And then he looked back up and he said, hey, you. He pointed with the cross. And he said, come here. And I honestly cannot remember everything. I don't know why I can't never remember everything, but I cannot remember everything that he said. But one thing that I know that he did, he touched my forehead, and he told me like God was going to use me, and that after today, my life would never be the same. And he touched me, and I remember my legs got weak, and I remember them kind of like, you know, like bracing me. And he told them, bring her back. And he, you know, touched me again. And I just can't remember everything that he said, but it's almost like he was pouring out whatever was in, you know, him, like passing the mantle, like in the Bible, he was, you know, almost passing a mantle of some sort, or gifts. And you know, he told me my life will never be the same. And it wasn't, because after that, even though I still work for that insurance company, God would show me things about people through dreams. I would just hear him say stuff, like friends that had tried to have babies and stuff. God would show me they were going to have a boy. And I would tell them, and they would be crying, and they would say, well, you know, we haven't even told anybody that we're struggling to have a baby. Like, it was a janitor at the job across the street from where I work. God, you know, showed me that he needed something. And it was like, I wrote a little note in what God gave me to give to him. And, you know, it was just like, he came back and he was like, how did you know this? And I was just like, it's just God. Like, I wouldn't say anything else. Like, just God. And I wouldn't, allow him to talk too much to me about it, because I just wanted God to get all the glory. So a lot of things like this were happening. It was some other incidents, but I think you guys get the point of it. And so and I'm just looking at my notes. I definitely don't consider myself to be a prophetess or anything like that. I just consider myself to be somebody that God uses whenever he feels like it. And to God be the glory for using me in what I do every day. Because if you guys watch my previous videos, you know that I'm a psychiatric nurse practitioner. So in my scope, I'm able to prescribe medication, but I'm able to also do therapy. And of course, I prefer therapy over medication. I believe in getting to the root, because medications are just a band-aid. And I know some people think differently, and that's not to say that I'm against medication, but it's just to say that for some people, it's a spiritual problem. It's a root, it's a root to what they have going on, whether it be trauma or something like that. But sometimes it's the root, and they want medication for a band-aid, but I believe in getting to the root. So yeah, that's my story of, my testimony. When I did not believe in Jesus, didn't believe that he was real. And I felt like I was going to become, a Muslim, or, there's no shade to, Muslims or whoever, but I was definitely looking into other alternatives, even though I had been in church my whole life. So if anybody is out there and they're in this same situation and not knowing if Jesus is real, just know that you can seek him. You can go to him. You don't have to try other religions, because it's really not about religion. It's about relationship. So you can go to him and say, I don't know if you're real. Show me. That's what I did. And today, God gives me a lot of patients that are atheists, that practice Wicca. They don't believe. They've lost faith. And I see why he does that. And I'm always like, okay, here you go with this challenge again. Like, if they were a believer, it would be so much easier for me to do therapy, because I'm always going to put biblical principles into therapy, even if they're not a believer. I may not say, exactly where some of the stuff that I'm saying is coming from, but it's coming from really from the word. I mean, even if you look at cognitive behavior therapy, that's replacing the negative thoughts with the positive. Well, it's no difference than the Bible saying take captive of your thoughts. So there's a lot of principles that are used in psychiatry, and people don't even realize it. They are biblically based. So that's my testimony, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I really hope that this is, my first video for my 40 days of Lent, even if they're small. And it's just, I know God is calling me to prayer. So even if it's just me uploading a prayer or something like that, then I really want to try to stick this thing out. So I really pray that God gives me the strength to be able to upload these videos, no matter how short they are, no matter if I'm in just a t-shirt, no makeup, like today. I just want to be obedient to God and to just do his will. So I'll see y'all next time. Bye.